I have built, operated, some sold, I think now 4 companies that are doing over $5 million in revenue. So let's draw back the curtains. I want to tell you about how this works. This was a very hard evolution for me. I started the company as well as 2-3 other companies out of my wheelchair. At the time, everyone listening to this was like, oh yeah, of course. Like I would have done the same. I got to emphasize that it was not that simple or that clear at the time. It was terrifying. It is meant to be able to operate without me. All my businesses have been. Our firm right now has over 400 million in assets under management. It did not start out this way. We started investing in very small assets individually. We're talking about $250,000 assets, and we have been working over 15 years to scale. What's up, guys? I'm excited to give you an inside look at my firm, Cedar Creek Capital. Look at our investments and just to really pull the curtains back and talk to you guys about how it runs, how it's set up. How do we get money? How do we invest? How do we find deals? Where do we come up with ideas? Our firm right now has over 400 million in assets under management. It did not start out this way. We started investing in very small assets individually. We're talking about $250,000 assets, and we have been working over 15 years to scale. I am really excited to dive into this. I don't think it's something that I've dove into on my podcast or YouTube channel. So if you guys want to learn more and hear more, please put in a comment what you would like to know about. Also, everybody, like and make sure you subscribe so you can get more information on macroeconomics, investing, and entrepreneurship in an ever-changing landscape. All right, first things first, our firm, me, my 2 partners, have been through a lot over the last 20 years, as a lot of firms have, including 2008. We were invested owners and operators before and through it. The landscape across the country, markets, different asset classes, it's changed a lot, and it continues to. That's normal, and markets do. Our firm is a value add specific investment firm, meaning we try to find underperforming assets that are generally due to operational things, little CapEx, buy them, turn them around. That was our bread and butter, how we started out. It was actually a really, really simple model. It wasn't crazy, just found a storage facility that was being ran poorly. And I had really 3 things I was trying to accomplish. And my 3 rules for the entire business model was at the time was answer the phone, let people know you're there, and have people pay their bills. I get it. It's like, but how is that a value add? That's just common business sense. But actually, it's not for a lot of companies and a lot of business. I did not know anything about construction, building. So at the time, we did not do any kind of expansions or development, ground up or conversions, anything like that. I don't have a real estate background. I don't have, I didn't have an investing background. We didn't have any of those kind of experiences, things when we started. We were sales guys. My dad was an insurance salesman. He taught me how to sell insurance. So technically I never really had a job because I never had anyone give me like a normal income, salary, pay. That never existed. I only got money for what I produced. But this led to a very large feeling of insecurity around my income because my income would fluctuate a lot. So my wife and I, we lived on very little. We saved a lot. And it was something that me and my dad talked about a lot. So real estate seemed to be the good alternative for us because it was consistent. It was real. You know, in sales, we didn't really have anything real. You're kind of an in-between. You don't control that revenue. And so that realness, it was like this will be a hedge against falling income, things out of our control, and it will be a plan in the future. So when we want to retire or do something, we actually can. It was really that simple. I knew and I understood business, cash-based businesses, because that's what we did and ran. I understood the basics and money, things like that, but I didn't know real estate at all. I didn't know what a cap rate was. We didn't know anything about that. I didn't want to invest in multifamily simply just because multifamily, I didn't think I could kick out a single mother with kids. And it's not saying that that's bad if someone's not paying, but I just knew that I couldn't do it. And I couldn't hire a third-party management company at the time because they were smaller assets. So storage made sense to us, business operations. And then I developed the whole concept that this isn't a real estate asset class. It's an actual business. In fact, I wrote a book on it, first book, which became a bestseller at the time on self-storage. And it was just running the basics. That's where we kind of built and started up from. Over the years, we bought assets. And we had to build a management company because at the time, management companies didn't exist. Now, I have invested, I own, I operate storage, but also other businesses with my firm, including I own product-based businesses in different industries. I own 2 software companies that we're building. We have architects. We have a bookkeeping service-based company. So I own 2-3 different service-based companies. We have the educational side. I have built, operated, some sold, others not. I think now 4 companies that are doing over 5 million in revenue, plus 5+ million, all 4 of them. I have failed a lot and made a lot of mistakes. Our investment thesis in the firm generally is actually built around that, the idea that we make mistakes. So let's draw back the curtains. I want to tell you about how this works. At first, it was just really us, me and my 2 partners. As we began to hire and we began to buy more, I actually worked another job. Today, the firm itself, we have me, we have my executive team, we have my board, we have roughly over at this one business, over 80, 85 employees. We are across 10 different states. We do everything from ground up developments. We buy office buildings, bankrupt supermarkets. We turn those into storage facilities. Our bread and butter is still acquisitions. The firm, we want to do our value add system and we want to hold. We will eventually sell mainly on 2 different situations. The underlying fundamentals of our investment thesis and asset have eroded away, so it won't produce in ways that we thought due to the actual drivers of that revenue. So we're like, over time, it's just, we're not going to get a lot, or it won't produce how we thought, so we'll sell. Or we get an offer that is unreasonable. And that unreasonable offer, they're paying us to walk away, we'll take that. The only other instance that we really look at it is when there's a large disconnect between our equity and income. That means, and this has happened, we bought deals that were very underpriced in different market cycles, and we built them up and got their income going, and the equity, because of that, forced value. Commercial real estate is valued based upon income. Okay. So we drive that income and that gross revenue up. And during that time, cap rates also went down. So now all of a sudden, which means there's more people that want to buy, so higher valuations, there's a huge amount of equity. And that equity is disproportionate to the income that that asset produces, meaning that if we sold it, we could take all that equity and go buy 4 more deals and we'd make 3-4 times as much income than we're getting, because the equity to income is so skewed. So we look at that as a reason to sell. Most of all, though, we hold. We want to own over the long term. We are long-term value-based investors. My original thesis when we started Bitterroot, the larger company, we owned some storage facilities, was really developed through the Great Recession as we were owning, operating some storage facilities, but we were still running our brokerage side and brokerage business for medical benefits. And that was a very simple thesis. I was obsessed with macroeconomics, especially due to the times. I had clients that we worked on the consulting side, the sales side. And at that time, I mean, they were really, really tough. A lot of people that went through 2008 obviously remember this, but I was only dealing with problems 24/7, trying to help companies from just not shutting their doors. It was not a fun time to be in business in that capacity, because everybody we were working with was literally just trying not to go out of business or in the middle of going under, closing up. And that was a interesting point at more of a beginning of my career, after I had finally started making money, and I was like, everything's going against me. And two, I think I largely didn't understand what was happening. I had a very big thirst for knowledge. So I was getting my MBA, which I just simply went and got because I had questions. I didn't get it for pedigree. I didn't get it to make more money. None of that. I was working with clients, their C-suite, small and some big, as we were discussing things that had to do with their healthcare dollars, where we're trying to increase their benefits and decrease how much they have to pay. So we work with them and go back and try to negotiate against the insurance carriers to give them better deals. That was the business. And when I was in this working with these C-suite, I was seeing all of these issues that were arising in the business. Some of the things that I saw too, though, were interesting because not everybody was dying. Some businesses grew, even though everything bad was going on. Markets were collapsing. All my friends that had gotten rich in real estate were going under. So I went to school because I'm like, I got all these questions. I'm studying on my own. It wasn't very effective. I needed more knowledge. I just went back to get more knowledge. And I studied business management with an emphasis in macroeconomics. Just there to learn, nothing else. I was just studying while I was working and starting up these businesses. The thesis was simple, that the real estate part was what is happening in the market had created a type of arbitrage. And that arbitrage was on returns, that essentially we had cash-based businesses that were being valued at multiples that were unreasonable due to the fact that they were everyone was in a massive cash crunch. During the recession, it was a credit problem. And then these cash-based businesses that were doing good and having cash, people wanted to buy them, and that's how you could grow. So firms were paying really, really high multiples. At the same time, we had assets like real estate that were so far below any fundamental value, including returns that real estate could make, but also replacement cost alone, that if you could sell a cash-based business, you could put that into real estate and you would get the same return. Why do I view that as a type of arbitrage? Because it doesn't make sense due to risk. As in, all cash-based business is much riskier than a real estate hard asset producing that has real value. And so your returns should be less on real estate, right? And it should be much higher on a cash flow return and a cash-based business, which lots of times only trade at 3 times or 2 times or even 1 times their revenue. So looking at this, the thesis, it was, let's build up these cash-based businesses, sell them, pour that into real estate. The real estate part that we were looking at, I thought there was going to be a massive imbalance in supply and demand due to the fact that the real estate sector was slaughtered, and that would create huge demand moving forward. At the time, everyone listening to this was like, oh yeah, of course. Like I would have done the same. I got an emphasis that it was not that simple or that clear at the time. It was terrifying. That logic was not logic when you're in it. That was actually very stupid. You're selling something that makes you a lot of money and produces a lot of income, and you're buying something that literally goes down in value every single year. And everybody's trying to offload. Nobody wants this thing. Everybody knows it's bad. I was told constantly that you're buying and they're going to be worth less next year. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually probably true. And people are like, well, then why are you buying it? Well, first of all, that extrinsic value, that price of that thing goes up and down depending on markets. But the cash flow that it produces and gives to me, that return is really good. So whether the market says, all right, this year it's worth 500,000, next year it's worth 400,000, the cash flow doesn't change, my returns don't change. I guess I don't necessarily care what that value is doing. And over the long run, I'm like, the values will catch back up to the incomes that they're producing. But that was hard. It was really hard to do. Banks didn't want to lend. And I had to take these larger views on capital allocation, and I was worried I was wrong. So I studied like crazy. And that really was the jettison of our firm and how we approached value-based long-term investing, especially in times in the market that are not lying. This is the same thing as we look today. So now our firm is large. We have lots of assets. We have lots of investors and customers. How we get our money? We get it from two ways. We get it from banks and investors. The overall commercial real estate, self-storage, we have some retail and industrial, but it's largely self-storage. And then the other side companies that we own, some are owned within the firm itself. Others are just I own privately. And those different businesses are worth 15 plus million. So not nearly as much, obviously, as the real estate, but they're still good and they're growing fast. I guess one of them, we're the largest investor in it, and I oversee the board. That's worth like 200 million. But these different businesses that we own within the firm, but also outside, are at different areas and when they're scaling. And I'll talk about the business investments inside here in a second, because it's very similar to the storage. Value-based long-term investing. But this has taken time to build our firm up. And it started out with just us. And then as necessity rose, we started to hire a few key people. The firm, as it grew, we needed to take our money, invest it. I needed to get it back so I could reinvest it, but I still needed to make income from the asset. Why? Because it needed to pay the bills, because I didn't have investors. The only investors were me, my father, and my brother-in-law, my other partner, and we were using money from our jobs and our other companies that we were building, which we built multiple and sold them and poured all that money back in. But because of that, if I bought it and then sold it and just took the return, I lost that cash flow to pay the bills of the management company. Because I didn't have investors, we didn't have fees, anything else. So this actually developed and crystallized out of necessity our business model. I needed to invest my money, and within 3 to 5 years at the most, I needed to get all my capital plus profits back out. And we did that through buying a really undervalued asset, increasing that income. Now our debt to equity changed massively. So let's say you buy a property and we put 30 or 40% down, which is normal. All of a sudden, that's how much you put down versus how much it's worth. Okay. So we put 40% of the value down. We increase that income dramatically. Now the debt on it isn't 60% or 70% of the value. It's 40%. So now it's like 60, 70% equity and 40 and 30% debt because the incomes rose and there's so much value. So what we do is we refinance it. We take out the exact same. We're not over leveraging it. We take out the same leverage that we had originally, and we actually get rid of risk two ways. It rolls into a non-recourse loan. We still have 40% down, so it's not that leveraged. But the money then we take out, we get all our money plus profits in it, and it's tax-free. We take that money, I reinvest it, buy another one, and do the same. Now I still own that asset, and it still cash flows at that same rate and pays the bills. And now my money can keep growing. And I'm not paying taxes on it because it's in that loan format, which has to be paid back so it can keep going at the same rate. So the same dollar that I used can buy multiple assets. This required us, though, to find certain types of assets, and it required us to be really good at the operation side. This then, in turn, which was a simple type thing when we started, we went and got bigger assets. We moved into markets that could create growth as well as had strong fundamentals. but I had to get better at the operations. We invested lots into technology and other parts of the business. Most real estate people put all of their money in the real estate itself, which we did, but we also put millions into the business of it. The business of self-storage. We build out technology platforms. We build out whole entire departments within our companies, like revenue management. And we build out all of this business functionality because I had to get that income high. So when I did find an undervalued facility, the operations were so good, we could improve its value. So then it got more complicated. We hired more people. We kept going. Now, everyone, it was at this point that I was killing it. I don't mean to brag, but I was, 30 years old at this point. And I'm like, no, 33 years old. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I was currently doing this real estate thing. I was also running the state's largest brokerage firm that was owned by a company out of Chicago. And I was running that firm, and I was also working with clients. I was traveling a lot, and we just had our fourth kid. I was like, life's amazing. I was working. I got to still be with my dad, and my dad's my best friend. He's my mentor. I've always wanted to do that. I always want to do that. And so for me, I'm like, I have my family. I got my kids. I have my side business that's blowing up and being very successful. I have my core job and everything that I'm still running. Because I was running the core job, I didn't pay myself out of the real estate side. In fact, what I did is I used that money to hire other people. So I built business systems so it could operate and function without me having to do all the work, meaning that I created a scalable business model that wasn't based on me because I was offsetting it with my job that paid me a lot of money over here. And I was working my brains out, like completely working my brains out, but I was loving it. And I thought I was, nothing could stop me. And then overnight I became paralyzed. I lost the use of my legs and was put into a coma. And when I woke up, I was hooked to life support to tubes, keeping me alive. My nervous system shut down and my brain couldn't talk with my body. I was in an incredible amount of pain. It was so bad that I really couldn't sleep. I would get rest as I passed out from the pain. I couldn't speak or communicate. I communicated through blinking. And that's where I stayed for months on machines, keeping me alive. It was not an accident. I didn't get hit by something. Instead, I got something, which I don't think I can say because they might pull it down, which created a reaction, and that in turn paralyzed me. And that process, I obviously was let go of my job because, at first glance, I think people look at that very harshly. But you have to remember it was caused by two things. If I wanted to get any disability, I couldn't obviously be working. The company, though, that I was working for, they kept me on for months, even though at one point we were just waiting to see if I was going to die or not. So it got to a point after 2 months where they were talking very differently to my wife about, you have to start making long-term plans. What are we going to do with him? Is he just going to stay on tubes? If he never comes back, he's not improving. And so there was I was not going to work. That was clear. Even if I did make it, we didn't know what kind of life I would ever live after that. They let me go once I got off tubes, and that gave me access to disability for a year. Then I lost my disability, another story, but that I obviously couldn't work. So I was in the hospital. I'd lost my job. These assets that we'd invested in saved our financial life that I had been working and investing and building for 15 years. We'd used all our own money. It took a long time. We made lots of mistakes. We struggled. I worked building other companies, everything doing this, and it saved my family. We just had our fourth child, 4 kids, 10 and under, my wife. We didn't lose our house. She didn't have to go. So what that led to, everyone, is this. I never have made content. This is all new for me relatively. Prior to all of this, I wasn't on social media. I didn't do podcasts. I just built businesses. That's it. I built businesses and accrued assets. I did it for me, my family. In the hospital, I was so overwhelmed, literally Christmas night, by the immense gratitude that I had being paralyzed, looking out the window, that I was going to get to have a hospital-assisted visit to see my children open their Christmas presents. I'd gone in to the hospital months ago. I'd been planting trees and everything. It was beautiful, warm outside, and now it's looking out, it's snowing. But I was going to get a hospital-assisted visit in my house with my kids, and they were taken care of and protected. It was like one of the most grateful, proud moments I've had as I sat there paralyzed. And I promised that I was going to share information, what I was doing, how we were doing it, so that other people had the same opportunities. And then two, I said I was going to allow other people to have opportunities to do this with us if they wanted, meaning that somebody could invest with us. I'd never done, and we had never done. That whole thing led to the outward-facing firm that became really Cedar Creek Capital and what it is today. This was a very hard evolution for me. I started the company as well as 2-3 other companies out of my wheelchair as I was trying to recover. It's been now 8 years since then. I can walk on my own, even though I don't have full functionality in my legs, but I didn't ever think that I would walk again. And so in my wheelchair, I knew when I left the hospital, listen, AJ in a wheelchair this is going to be you that goes home. And by in a wheelchair, I did not mean that it was actually being in a wheelchair. Whether I was in a wheelchair or not, what I meant was the mentality. This is the new me. Or there was going to be a new AJ that I don't know. And I had to come up with that. And as a man losing my ability to produce for my family, work, take care of my children, it was a very difficult thing for me. I'd lost who I was. I wanted a mission, and I needed something to grapple, and that's what it came to. I was going to help other people and teach other people, and that's what I've been doing since I got out of the wheelchair. It's why I produce content. I did it for years. I wrote books purely with the only goal to give information at all. There's nothing else. We're not even attached, nothing. It was just, here it is. I didn't probably do it the best stuff, because it was just, here it is, it's coming out. As though that happened, as we went out, we now needed acquisitions departments. We were buying more. I needed to get investor relations, and the company blew up and it grew. In fact, it grew after, as I was finally, after years in my leg braces, and I had a cane, different things like that, but I could walk. The company really started to take off. I started to share along my journey. We're at a pivotal point in the company, which I'm going to talk about now. And it's the next evolution. As we all know, markets have gone down and everything else. We're planning and doing what we did, same thing in 2008, value-based investing, my economic thesis that I have that we've been built after, and we're buying lots. I think we bought 4 deals right now, and we're building. We just got done with construction on 2 major developments. We will be acquiring, easily double that this year. The goal is 100 million in assets to acquire this year alone. We'll see if we can get there, but we're finally having opportunities and options. The values there, we're getting amazing deals. So we're scaling up. During the time when markets shifted, interest rates went up. It's shocking to me how many of our competitors disappeared. The money dried up, people stopped buying, and firms started cutting massively. I invested during that time. Prior in 2021, my new thesis that I had come up was there was a self-storage bubble. So in 2021, I put low interest rates, government spending, and our overall quantitative easing and the approach that the government has taken after 2008 created a bubble in the commercial sector and a large one in storage. So what did we do? I said there was going to be inflation. The housing market was going to stall. I refinanced all our properties, and we took tons of cash in the door. A year later, interest rates went up. The market froze. And for the last 3 years, as other people were going out of business, we've been investing in technology operations and hiring people. and we have a new management team. And now we've brought all the companies together under one roof, under one management team, one mission aligned. And that is to execute and do the same thing that we did after 2008. And the goal is in the next 5 years, we would like to add on another, in the next, 2 years, 2 to 3 years, another 500 million in assets, which I think we will do. I think the team we have, everything could do quite easily. And that includes also development, building. We have architecture, construction, management, and integrate our data and technology. The company is kind of a tech company at this point, masked as a real estate operating company, because we have what we call our brain. And we focus, and I've invested personally millions of dollars, and my partners have invested millions of dollars into an infrastructure that creates a private equity side where our data and our analysis is unmatched only to the REITs. It's not only the data you get, it's how you get it, what you do, and how you use it for. And the things that we've been doing, we're very excited about. And this kind of gets to my overall point. Looking at the firm, our management team is structured like this. My two partners, everything we have, I'm the CEO. I have my executive team, which encompasses Ruben and Jonah. They are really our integrators. I work with my companies primarily with the actual operators. If any of you are familiar with EO, we have it set up very similar with the visionary and the integrator. So for the private equity side, I essentially have two integrators. Ruben is an attorney. He did massive deals, over $1 billion in acquisitions and deals as an attorney. We brought him in. He's now doing the operations. He works with, and it brings a whole new level to that side of the operations. And Jonah, who had built and focused on the technology, automation, different things in the self-storage world, and built a self-storage company. He came and joined our team, and he's working on the self-storage operations. Then I have my CEOs and my integrators on my other businesses, including the software companies, product companies, and elsewhere. Then I interface with my integrators at this point. I used to be the integrator, operator, everything. We did everything. I mean, everything. I was out shoveling snow to calling tenants to, me and my two partners, we did every single piece of the business, every acquisition, all of it. And now we have departments. So we have a finance department, which we have accounting. Obviously that stuff, we have HR. I have acquisitions. We have our development department. We have our property management department. We have our revenue management department, our marketing department. Then we have the other companies that also interface with us, which includes, now we've launched our bookkeeping company, our SEO company, and then we have our educational company, which we interface all of those together. We call it our ecosystem, and it all feeds on each other. And the products and the businesses that I bought, the foundational services help them scale and move on. So that's more of your traditional private equity side, which we've done and started to buy up companies and have them go. But really, those are individually operated and owned. I have teams that work on that side and the educational. We have over 30 people on that alone. I work with the integrators, and I work on the overall setting the mission, the goal of the companies. Almost all my time is spent really on the storage side because that's the bulk of what we do. But my integrators and operators are incredible. They are far better than me at the individual things that they do. And that's my goal, to hire people that are smarter, better than me, and have a team of absolute rock stars, work with the executive teams, create incentives to go down and accomplish the mission and go down the road that we have plotted out. We use EO as the format. We are very, what I'd call maybe risk adverse, which has helped us survive the COVID, helped us survive high interest rates, helped us survive 2008. And we will be here in 40 years. We'll just be 40 times as big. And those principles that got us there will continue. We have had deals go bad, not whole deals. We haven't lost investors' money, anything else, but we've had in the cycle We've had multiple deals that didn't perform anything where we wanted to, and we've had to shuffle cards around. So we are shuffling some of the cards around, even in our funds, where we're like, we can buy lower assets, non-performers that aren't going to reach that, we're going to go. So we've had to go through deals not performing, not doing good, but instead of just, oh, that's too bad. No, we figure it out. We solve it. We work on it. We understand the assets and we make up those returns, those capital. I've had businesses that haven't gone well. That was a large, especially earlier on, that I don't think I quite understood the supply demand factor of the market, the end customer, and the business system that needed to deliver those results. And I learned what not to do. And those we would sell off. We had businesses that were very successful that we sold off because they weren't what we wanted to do. My brokerage firm that I started after our first one, my dad started, that I worked for, that I started the next one, and the product-based businesses, we just didn't want to do them. So we'd build them up, sell them, and then we'd remove those. We'd roll those profits into the hard assets as a wealth preservation and growth model, which that has made more wealth than all of the other stuff combined. My day-to-day and looking at the firm, our board, we do deal approvals, our acquisition department, we have a golden ratio that we have to follow. It is meant to be able to operate without me. All my businesses have been. I made the vast majority of my and my partners and everybody else's wealth after I became a quadriplegic and then off life support, got feeling back, and then paralyzed. I made the vast majority after that. Why? First of all, I was extraordinarily humbled. There's nothing more humbled than lying naked hooked to tubes as people roll you over to bathe you and stare at you as you try to blink. And that's a pretty humbling experience. I learned that I couldn't do things on my own. I had to depend on others. Then I learned that depending on others made what I could do that much more. And then I relied, depended, and was grateful to welcome in other people to help me accomplish my goals and mission. I put the goals and the mission above my pride. And that was a huge hindrance for me prior. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we think it has to be done only by us. Instead, I evaluated the people and I set up the systems, the processes, and I work on setting the goals, how we get there, and having incredible executors that are in there day in, day out, and hiring people that are experts in what they do. That became my focus instead of me doing and producing. And realizing and being open, this is where I'm good, this is where I'm not good at. And I could leverage then my abilities, which in turn made everyone better off. I'm risk adverse in my companies and things, as in it can't be solely dependent on me. We have to have all these things in place. So that too helps. That helps gain wealth, capture, grow wealth. This was obviously a very large part of our company. It is part of our culture that we're doing this for other people. That was the mission. And that's what our businesses changed to. The mission and the goal became not about us, but actually giving and creating to other people what saved me and was so important to me that I could share that to others in any form that would take by creating financial independence and security for individuals like I had that saved my family's financial life. That's it. That's the goal and the mission of my firm. We use this vehicle as well as others in it to accomplish those things. And I am a very big follower of Warren Buffett. In fact, investing in the firm, I got really into at college because I read the Warren Buffett way. And I became obsessed with value in marketplaces, investing overall, compounding returns, limiting risk, and what makes companies survive and be successful. And since reading that in college when I was very young, and my wife I would try to work at sales and make money, which I didn't. She would work at New Fong's. It was a Chinese restaurant that was actually below or to the side of us because we lived up above an auto body shop in this little room. And she would come bring dinner, which was leftovers from the Chinese shop. And I would spend my nights reading about Warren Buffett investing. And during the day, I would go sell, and my wife would work at night. And we really lived off of her. We got Pell Grants to go through college, everything else. But since then, I don't know. It was like every night I would sit there in that little room and read about investing, and that's carried on forward. And it's been a love and a passion of mine. And I think now I can give that to more people and my experiences, because my failures, I failed on my own. I've almost lost me and my family's money. I almost lost it all. I almost begged up doing bad deals. I took the risk, and I risked my family's and my money, and I lost money, and I almost failed, and I learned the hard way, but I did it on my dime. And the genesis of these companies were predicated on those failures and those risks that were taken in. And we learned and we moved forward. We learned what worked, what didn't. We learned how to operate a certain way and how to maximize returns, but also how to make sure that we could manage risk. Those things aren't learned overnight. I hope that you guys can learn from me, hence the reason we're doing this, as well as others, so you don't have to learn those hard lessons the way that I did. But we did it and we learned it, and so I had something to give to others and give back. This is the most probably important thing to me, financial security and independence, because it's the only true freedom in thought, anything that everybody has. If you are financially set free, you are free to choose and do and be who you want. You are protected. This allows for higher order of thinking. And in a time where so many are struggling, in a time where the separation from the wealthy and the poor has become so astronomical, a lot of people don't even understand how we're here, why we're here. I bet big on my economic thesis, and we have won really, really big. And they were done not by gambling. It wasn't stock investments. It wasn't that. It was done by building off of and understanding just fundamental, true long-term principles, and over time yielding those rewards. This is something that is lost a lot of time with investors and entrepreneurs. They're very short-term thinkers, and they are very much not contrarians. And normally I don't say I'm contrarian because I don't necessarily think that I'm contrarian, as I don't just oppose the opposite views. No, I just look at the reality. I'm a realist. This is the situation. This is where value is. Whatever all this noise is, does it have anything to do with this? No, doesn't matter. So I'm a realist, and I look at markets when markets aren't being and functioning real, and I try to find real value and real upside, and then I build systems to exploit and to take advantage of that value within those assets or trends over the long term. It's a creation method. Today, we have a world where the government intervention, particularly since 2008, has made asset prices rise, because government, when it spends money, when it borrows, prints, and spends, inflates asset prices. It inflates normal goods and services through inflation, which makes the rich richer, and it makes the middle class and the poor lower. You have a system where the asset owners and ownership economy wins, and everyone else gets left behind. The entire goal of my company is to make more people owners and participators so they don't get left behind. I hope that gives you guys a look into our company, how it's built, why it's built. Comment, ask me questions, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, like this. This is how you can pay back. This is free. We're just putting it up here, and I'm trying to be transparent. And I know a lot of people have questions because they don't get to see a lot of this stuff. So we're trying to put it all out there. And I want you guys to come along my journey, especially on this new leg, the new formation of my company, so you too can see and learn from my mistakes, my wins, and we can be transparent about it. I appreciate you all so much, and we'll talk soon.